And people who access higher consciousness, they extend their own individual consciousness out of this collective consciousness, and they are able to source their information from another place where the majority of people does not have access to. And that's why you may feel like you don't quite get people sometimes, because you are extending your own consciousness out of the collective. You're extending it so far that you are way more self-aware and that you get your information from higher realms rather than just from the collective consciousness. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Rooted in the Cosmos, your podcast for all things spirituality, leadership, and New Earth vision. I'm your host, Isabel Gloria, and I'm happy to have you back here or have you here for the first time. If you're tuning in new, welcome. A lot of people have been joining from TikTok. So if you're from TikTok, this is personally for you, a welcome. And let's get started. I want to start this episode by saying thank you to everyone who joined my event last Sunday. On last week's episode, I was announcing that an event is going to take place on the same day, and quite a few people joined me or reached out to me who heard about this event on the podcast. So thank you for that. I'm happy it landed with you, and I received so much positive feedback. It was a magical time. And if you haven't been there, let this be your sign to sign up for the next free event. From time to time, I host free online events, and I love hosting them. They're always so magical, and I love to connect with you at these events. So if you haven't been there last week, make sure you sign up for my newsletter so you don't miss out on any free event that's coming in the future. You can find the link for my newsletter in the show notes. Simply put in your email address and you will receive my emails, and you will not miss out on any announcements for any free events or anything else that is exciting and happening in my little world. Since the enrollment for my mentorship program has just started, I've been in touch with a lot of women in the last couple of days, and what I've realized is that we're all kind of similar and I count myself into that, when we want to pursue like a career that is very much based on spirituality and helping others and making positive impact. We all kind of share a similar experience, and I actually want to dive into this today because I feel like if you're listening to this podcast, you will most likely resonate with any of these points, like maybe not with all of them, but I think with a good amount of what I'm going to talk about. And I think that's really important because what I've realized over the years is that a lot of women feel very alone on their spiritual journey. There's this sense of spiritual loneliness after you've had a spiritual awakening. You've always felt kind of different, and you've always felt like you had different goals, different stepstones in your life. So you're not going the usual way of how life works for your friends or how life works for your workmates. There's always this individual aspect of things not going as they are normally going for people, if that makes sense. And that is something that I see as a pattern in light workers, in people who are feeling called to express their light worker self and go on this mission of fulfilling their divine purpose and creating a life not only for themselves that they feel fulfilled with, but only creating this impact. It's a pattern that I noticed. This is not a coincidence that so many people feel like this. And that's why I want to bring it up today. The main trait that we all share, everyone who has this pattern, is that we always kind of feel different. So you've always felt different, and as if you would experience life on a deeper level than most people. That is something that keeps coming up in my work, in the people I connect with, and I feel like it's something a lot of people out there need to hear, that so many people feel like they're different. And this is not coming from an ego place where you just want to be an individual and you have this individuality complex. It's a deeply rooted feeling of not fitting in and not being like anyone else or everyone else. Of course, there's a level of what has this person experienced that makes them feel different. There are so many layers to this. But there is a red thread going through all the light workers, all the coaches, all the spiritual um, guides that I come in touch with, and we all share this deeply rooted feeling of being different and being not like other people. And what I mean by experiencing life on a deeper level is that a lot of advanced souls and light workers and whatever you want to call them, a lot of them have challenging lives. I know you shouldn't compare trauma and you cannot measure it up to each other, but there are certain levels to how difficult a life is to lead and to how difficult your challenges are. And I know this is a very unpopular opinion because a lot of people like to put all the trauma in one category and you cannot ever find levels to that. I don't fully agree. I'm not trying to invalidate any kind of trauma or any kind of struggles or anything like that. Not at all. This is not my intention. Not at all. But there are levels to it. What advanced souls often experience is that they come into this life feeling like they have a huge package to carry, and there's a lot going on in their lives, and it's a lot that not everybody can relate to. So they may have very unique experiences, very unique challenges. I'm not saying they are worse than other people's challenges or they are more worthy of being seen as like a challenge. But there is this aspect to it that makes you feel pretty alone with your challenge. So in my personal life, for example, I was born with a congenital heart defect. So I came into this life being chronically ill, having to deal with like a vital organ that is not healthy. I know other people have heart disease as well. I know a lot of old people have heart diseases, but not that many people have congenital heart defects, and not many people around me, at least, can put themselves into my shoes and how I live life, how I experience my own body, my own health, what health scares I've gone through, open heart surgery that I've experienced that made me grow a lot and kickstarted my spiritual awakening, basically. There's just a lot of unique experiences that I cannot share with every one of my friends, and they can totally relate to that. And everybody has those, like everybody has experiences that are kind of unique to them. But in light workers and in advanced souls, this is a pattern that comes up all the time. Like they have something, they've experienced something that was very challenging, but also made them the person that they are now, that they are today. And without this challenge, without this drastic happening in their life or whatever it is, without that, they wouldn't be the same person. From a human level, we would never pick like those hard challenges or feeling like we never fit in. We would never pick that from a human perspective. We want to fit in, we want to find our place, we want to find our purpose, we want all of that. But our soul's perspective is a little bit different. And from a soul's perspective, a challenge like this challenge that makes you feel a little bit isolated from everyone else, can also be an initiation into finding your own path and giving you the opportunity to not follow the path that is right for or that seems to be right for everyone else. You have this default of feeling like you're not like them anyway, so you're going to do things differently. Again, I want to emphasize on that. This has nothing to do with an individuality complex. It is just something a soul likes to choose to shaken the human awake to doing things differently and to not follow the crowd. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you never truly fit in and you're experiencing life on a deeper level because you have had very hard challenges or just things that make you different from other people, the reason for that could be that you're meant to awaken to the fact that you are equipped and conscious enough and powerful enough to do things differently. It's supposed to show you that you can create unique experiences that are positive just as much as you have unique experiences that are what we would call negative. So in my case, I always say, that's a good example actually, because the specific heart defect I have is very rare. And when I got surgery, I had to go to like a lot of clinics and a lot of surgeons and a lot of cardiologists to even find someone who's able to do surgery on me because it's so rare. And it was like this one person that can do it, and he's like a high-ranking surgeon who usually only takes in politicians and stuff like that. So it was a very, very, very unique experience. And it was really hard to find someone who was even able to perform surgery on me. So it's a rare thing. What I always like to remind myself of is this. If my soul, my cosmic self, me on a higher level, if I chose to come into this human experience with a heart defect this rare, why would I not be able to create a life for myself that is just as rare, that is just as unlikely to have? So why would it only go one way? And I love that thought, because when we have something happen to us that is rare and is negative, then we see it as obviously something negative. It's not nice. But we never think of how possible it becomes that something very rare happens that is very positive for us, that can change our life or shift our experience around, like shift our entire reality. So with that in mind, I want you to think of your own life. Like, what has happened to you that has not happened to others? Which experience did you have that others didn't have to go through? And how can you rewrite that story into an excitement and into waiting for this rare thing to happen to you, which is very positive and which is meant for you? Another thing that is kind of connected to having unique experiences or experiences that feel rare is that you may often feel like you're observing humans rather than being part of them or identifying as a human. I, for example, had this my whole life. I can only talk from my experience. Before I started embodiment practices and before I started to learn what it means to be ungrounded, I experienced a lot of my life in the perspective of me being inside of my body, looking outside of my body through my eyes. So I did not feel myself being merged with my body. And I'm very, very aware that this is also due to trauma. So I experienced childhood trauma. I'm not going to go into this too deeply today, but I am aware that this is part of it. But it's not just that. It's not only the trauma. It's not always just trauma. There's also a soul level to that where I feel like I have a hard time being a human sometimes. And I've gotten much, much better over the years of doing spiritual practices, of exploring myself more, of finding more joy in the 3D experience. But I have such vivid soul memories and such a strong feeling of what it means to not be in the physical realm and not be physically bound, that I have a hard time just being a human being sometimes, because I'm so cosmically connected. And my chakras are very much open in the higher realms, like crown chakra, third eye. All of these upper chakras are very, very open. Like when I need to work on something energy wise, when I need to balance something out, is always the lower chakras. It's always got to do with grounding, with being a human, with being in the physical. And my upper chakras are more like hyperactive. So I need to tone it down in the upper chakras a bit, and I need to balance out the lower chakras and activate them more and make myself feel much more grounded. So the way I see that is that I'm so connected, and you may resonate with that. I'm so cosmically connected and so connected to a part of myself that other people do not access, that it sometimes feels like I'm just watching a show, the human show. Like I'm observing human beings and I'm observing their behavior, and I see how they function and how relationships work for them and how fast they become friends with someone and how fast they end that friendship and it's never been real. And it sounds a little bit like I'm talking down on them, but that's not my intention. It's just my genuine experience. Like, I don't understand how humans work sometimes, and I can only connect very deeply on a deep level with humans who are kind of similar to me, who have this same kind of feeling of being different or not quite fitting in. And it doesn't mean that I don't like to connect with people. I love humans. Like, I love connecting with people. I love observing them. Just the majority of the time, I don't feel like I 100% belong to them. And I love being a human as well. Like, I've learned to love it. And I've worked a lot on that. It was a huge topic for me. Maybe it is a topic for you as well. Maybe you don't resonate with that. But feeling like you are a human and being okay with being human has been a challenge for me and has been something I needed to embrace. But now I do. I genuinely do. And I love being a human. I love serving humans. I love being part of this shift that humanity is going through. But still, I cannot deny that there's an aspect of me that doesn't feel like I 100% belong to them. And I think that is a very common experience for advanced souls or for people who have access to higher consciousness, because humanity as a whole has like this hive mind, not in a negative way. We just share a collective consciousness. And most people only have this one collective consciousness. They have a level of self-awareness. Obviously, they are individual people, but they share a collective consciousness. They all agree on something energetically that I can't quite grasp. And people who access higher consciousness, they extend their own individual consciousness out of this collective consciousness, and they are able to source their information from another place where the majority of people does not have access to. And that's why you may feel like you don't quite get people sometimes, because you are extending your own consciousness out of the collective. You're extending it so far that you are way more self-aware and that you get your information from higher realms rather than just from the collective consciousness. And that is also a reason why many people who are reaching higher consciousness, who are accessing higher consciousness, they feel like they have a rebel inside. They feel like they want to go against the rules and against the common sense of what you should do and what you shouldn't do and what society tells you. Like, there's a lot of free thinking going on as soon as you start accessing higher consciousness. And for a lot of people, they don't understand the desire. Like, if you were to talk to someone who is completely fine in the collective consciousness, they have no desire to extend their consciousness into the higher realms, and they have no purpose of doing that, because some people are just not meant to in their lifetime. They would not understand why you may disagree with some things that are going on in the media, or they will not understand why you disagree with certain things that are just as they are in society. They genuinely don't get it, because that's their reality, and they feel safe and happy with having the rules and with having someone tell them what to do. Advanced souls have quite the opposite of that. They want to be individual. They want to do something different. They want to change the world, basically. And that drive comes from so deeply within that you don't even feel like you belong to humanity sometimes. We have incarnated into this human experience. We are humans. We are organic humans. I'm not telling you you're this special person and you're better than anyone else. Like, I'm not saying this from this place at all. I hope this comes across. It's just an observation and just how these different levels of consciousness work in our society right now. The reason I'm sharing this is because I assume that if you're listening to my podcast, you are one of those people who are accessing higher consciousness and who struggle to feel human sometimes, who do not understand human behavior all the times. And that is okay. And some people even say, I've shared this a few times on TikTok and on different platforms, I've shared similar things, and they say, well, maybe you're just autistic or you just have ADHD. And I do not disagree with that. Maybe that is the case. Maybe people who feel different from other humans do have these traits. But what if there's a deeper layer there? What if ADHD and autism is just a human word we put on something we don't understand fully? And I'm not going to go into this really deeply because I haven't really felt into it for myself. It is just something that came through for me very vividly for a long time now, that there is a connection. And I haven't figured out the connection. I haven't meditated on it. I haven't gotten any downloads about this, so I'm not going to go too deep into this, but just for as a food for thought, maybe there's a connection. Maybe autism, ADHD, and accessing higher consciousness, or being someone who is meant to change something in society, maybe there's a connection there. Maybe it's not just a diagnosis that we can give to our children and medicate them for it. A funny thing that keeps happening and that I know a lot of people resonate with is that advanced souls become hyper emotional watching movies when the plot is about the light conquering the darkness. The first example that comes to mind for me, I think it was the final part of the Avengers. It's called Endgame. The movie's called Endgame. And I'm not a big Marvel fan. Like, my friend likes she loves the movies, and that's why I watched them all. Like, I watched them with her and I enjoy them. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy them, I love watching them, but I'm not like a hyper super fan. I would prefer watching something else over a Marvel film if I could. So I like them, but I don't love them. And there is one specific scene though, in the last part in the end game, where, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, if you want to watch it, don't listen, like skip 30 seconds from now. There is a scene where at the end, you think the darkness has won. But at the end, there is a sudden change in energy and portals start opening. A lot of portals start opening. And what I would call light workers are coming through to fight the darkness and to conquer the darkness. And this resonated so much with me. It kind of evoked soul memories within me that I had deeply buried. And I think it did for a lot of people because all these Marvel movies, they have so much truth in them. Like there's so much universal truth packaged into these stories. And I feel like that is why they are so popular. That is why they are so, so, so loved. Because we as humans, we resonate with that because it reminds us of something that our soul knows. We don't know that consciously, but our soul has some like resonance with that. And we probably feel resonance with things that have happened for us, like in our experience, in our soul journey, some galactic wars and the light winning over the darkness, like all this very galactic cosmic stuff that is going on all the time. And we have memories of that, not consciously, but within our soul matrix. We have stored them within. And that is why these movies become so popular and so successful. So that is one thing I can think of. And then there's this other movie that I love. I love this movie. If you haven't watched it, definitely watch it. It's called Tomorrowland. I hope that's the English title. I don't know if that's the German title actually, because they do this weird thing. In Germany, they do this weird thing. They have a movie that has an English name and they give it another English name instead of giving it a German name because they feel like the English name would not be understood by Germans, but then they pick another English name. It doesn't really make sense, but the movie is called Tomorrowland. And I think A World Beyond is the German title or vice versa. So whatever you Google Tomorrowland and A World Beyond and you will find that movie. It's with George Clooney. And this movie is so amazing for light workers because it's basically telling the story of light workers finding their own power. And I'm not going to spoiler anything. I'm not going to tell you anything about the movie, but definitely go watch it. If you are one of those people who tend to cry in movies where the light is winning over the darkness and where there's like this hero story. We are meant to conquer the darkness. It may not be in a literal war against the darkness like you see in the movies, but essentially we are doing the exact same thing. As light workers, we incarnated here to bring change, to create positive impact, to reach a level of enlightenment that lets us see through the darkness, that lets us see through the corruption, through everything that is wrong in our system, in our world, and with those who have overtaken it. So essentially, we are doing the same thing. And a movie like this just mirrors it back to us. The final thing I want to touch on, and I've talked about this in past episodes, but I want to touch on it again, is this feeling of having like a strong, restless energy within you that longs to be expressed, but you can't seem to find an outlet for it. This is so common. Every client I have comes to me with some sort of this experience, this urge and this calling that you may feel to do something, but you don't know exactly what it is, and just this restless energy that needs an outlet. And this is, again, also related to a unique experience and feeling different. Because your friends and the people around you, they may not have this restless energy within themselves. They may not be in search mode for their entire lives, searching for their purpose, for their mission, for what they're meant to do here, or they're not looking for a deeper meaning of why they are doing what they're doing. And there is nothing bad about this. It's a beautiful thing. If you're happy with your life, if you're happy with your job, that's amazing. But as light workers, we often struggle with that because we never get to that level of peace and of satisfaction because there's always this energy circulating within ourselves, within our heart that wants to get out. And we need to find an outlet for that, but it's not always that easy. The outlet for this energy very, very often is starting your own business and trying to create a lifestyle for you that you can live off of. but at the same time do something that means something to you. As a light worker, there is nothing worse than feeling like you're wasting your potential or you're wasting your time, because on a soul level, you came here with this seed planted within you that you are meant to do great things, that you are meant to create impact, create change. So if you're not living up to this potential, or if you're not able to live up to it yet because you haven't figured out what you even want to do, this is really painful. And this creates so much pain and pressure that other people who don't have this inner urge may not understand. They may feel like, why isn't she just chilling her life? Like, why is she so stressed all the time? Why is she so eager to find her thing? Like, why is she not just happy with her job? It's not a bad job. So like all these things that you may experience in your own life, like this not really being understood by your friends or by your family or by whoever. And if you have someone who actually understands, it's a really huge gift. That being said, I would be really, really interested if any of this resonated with you and how much it resonated, or if it didn't resonate at all. I'm more than happy to connect with you. Like I said, I would be really curious to know if this resonated with you, so definitely let me know. You can reach out to me. My DMs are always open. And what's also open is the application and the enrollment for the Cosmic Wonders mentorship. So if you are thinking about working with me, or if you're on the fence of making a big decision for yourself and for your life and for your journey forward, make sure to reach out. You can either apply through the link in the show notes directly, or you can just reach out to me and ask your questions to find out if it's the right fit for you. Okay, beautiful soul, make sure to reach out to me if you have any questions, any inquiries, and I'm wishing you a beautiful week. Talk to you next Sunday.